Hello, this is McPooey. I'm on my minstrel at the moment, but I wanted to do a short video, well, hopefully short, on some of the crafting inconsistencies. I've actually turned up my brightness on my machine to perhaps make the video a little bit plainer to see. I have, my woodworker bought various recipes when Mordor came out for the new minstrel instruments. Now, the problem was that when the majority of those recipes came out when the release of Mordor went live, is that all those recipes, we saw the non-crit version, so you kind of assume that the crit version is going to be better than what we've already got. However, all the crit version did is add a bit more morale and power. It left these new stats for the healing and critical healing magnitude in this particular one. I should compare the drums because they're both the same type. They're battle singers. So at 95, I've got 30% ballad encoder damage and 50% ballad cost. But it's 25% ballad encoder damage. That's a whole 5% difference in damage. That's not to my liking. If I switch to the Theobow, they're both wary watchers. This is my favoured healing instrument and output choice. So the new one, a crit version, I've even written crit because it was so hit and miss with craft that you didn't really know whether you'd crit or not. Sometimes you'd crit and you'd find out that the crit version was exactly the same as a non-crit. Well, that's the impression you got. But anyway, I don't want to lose 0.5% healing, and I don't want to lose 4% critical healing magnitude. I don't want to lose and power cost. And I frankly don't care about the max morale and power. Especially if we're looking at a healing minstrel who, if they want to, can bump 2 points into this and actually gain power on healing. I think that might be useful in the new 6-man with power being an issue. I think I'll knock that up a couple of points and then I won't have any problems with power. So I made 4 instruments, bought 4 recipes with my coins. In fact, I probably bought some recipes on one character and other recipes on another character, just so that I could have enough to get the instruments I wanted. And then once I'd made them, I realised that, because I made them on my woodworker, not my minstrel, I realised that they were actually not really better. So that's one of my issues with the crafting. I should just have a look at this. I have this is a filigree necklace of the Alliance Renewed. This is a crit version of a jeweler recipe which we got when Mordor was released, and the other outputs are for a 10 light necklace. But the outgoing healing one gave 20 light for some odd reason. I'd like an explanation. I don't really want it fixed because I don't want to lose 10 light just for coming clean to say there's a problem with this. But I'll show that on my jeweler, I think, in a bit. I suppose another disappointment is, with the stat inflation of Mordor, little bit disappointed just to get an extra 150 physical and tactical mastery rating on the battle law, and similarly the physical mitigation, tactical mitigation. It's less of a percent of our overall stats compared to when we were 105 using the previous scroll. So we've got hugely inflated figures for tactical and physical mitigations, yet this hasn't really moved an awful lot, so it's a little bit disappointing. Yeah, again, cure pots I make on my scholar, and these came out with a max strength of 115, which is kind of useless in many places. If you're grouped up doing dungeons, it's kind of a waste. But they were fixed. So, but anyone who plays the game would know that these pots have to cater for mobs above our level, even if we are at cap. So it's a no-brainer to sort of have them at the right value. Incidentally, while we're at it, it's the same on the new food. It removes a wound poison effect, so a maximum strength of 115 from the target. And if we're resorting to that, frankly, I've only ever used the removal of a wound and poison on a food once in 10 years of play, because you had to have a bleed or poison that was going to kill you. You had to get out of combat and be on cooldown on pots and skills to remove it, or people in the group couldn't heal you either. So it's touch and go whether you can actually get to this to eat in those circumstances. But then again, if it's 115 and you're that desperate, you're probably fighting mobs above your level. But that's just the one thing wrong with the food. I shall switch to my tinker for the jewellery and the cooking stuff. I do have the game on a SSD because it's so much quicker loading than it ever used to be. I don't know whether I would play if I didn't have an SSD. Right, this is my burglar, who's a tinker. I'd like to show you that necklace that had the outgoing healing and the extra 10 light, because I can show you what necklace he's got equipped. I'm assuming he's got it equipped. Yeah, this is the 10 light version. It's the agility choice with finesse. So that's made from the same recipe, but a different output. So we've gone from 10 to 20 light, and it's only on this particular one, this particular output, the outgoing healing one. I don't actually have the recipe on this character at the moment because, well, it costs 90 signets. This character is 115, but actually hasn't done any in Mordor, so it's not complete by a long chalk. Right, I'm just going to go and look at what we got when we arrived in Mordor. I'm going to choose Jeweler. So for the Jeweler, we've got this added complexity in that we have a ring recipe and a band recipe. They're both for putting on a finger. There's no mention of multi-output on either of them. like all the recipes that are multi-output. There's no actual flag on there to say it's multi-output. These are the ones. So here we got the flag saying multi-output, but when we were presented with these recipes, to all intents and purposes, we can only make might jewellery, might weapons, and might armour, because it doesn't say it's multi-output. Now we assume that it's multi-output, it's just that little detail's been left off. And I know we haven't had it before, but it would be so nice to have all the outputs. Now I can understand why you want to hide the crit versions, because if we haven't gained the ability to get halfway through this tier and don't know what the crit item should be, that's fine. But I think hovering over these would be much better if we could see all the outputs, especially with this when we've got 2 bracelet recipes. Wrist recipes. So there is a lot of potential for different stats. And if you're tight on coins like this character is, I've got to make a choice. Do I buy that one or that one? And will it actually have an output that would fit the character I want to make this item for? So it was all a bit disappointing to arrive on the scene and not know what the outputs were. The missing indication that it is a multi-output. At least the single use is there, but again, it doesn't mention the multiple outputs. And it certainly doesn't mention that the outgoing healing one there gives 20 light. Yeah, again, now the jeweler can make shadow essence, but how come my scholar can't? Actually, let's have a look at my polished black adamants. Now this is the easy way to level up in the next tier, which is great, but I only have one item that uses a polished black adamant, and this is a Lawmaster only stick pin. Now, given that I got 548 polished black adamants, I could make 548 stick pins, given enough ore, which is in the bank. There aren't that many Lawmasters playing the game, let alone on this server, for me to use up my polished black adamants. I had thought that these new recipes bought from the vendor over here would have included the polished adamants, but they don't. They just use the normal black adamants. So if you polished all your adamants, you would then have nothing left to make these new recipes. Additionally, a tinker is the only profession that can make these things. Yet now, any character who's got prospecting, or woodworking, or weaponsmithing, or forestry can make these 18-hour cooldown things, because it was later expanded for the main professions to be able to make those 18-hour cooldown items. But the jeweler gets nothing extra to help out. And in fact, I should go back to the crafting hall to make mine. Fortunately, I had 2 jewelers. I made another alt, a jeweler. I think he was a possibly an armsman at some stage, and then I realised that it wasn't actually useful. So I made him into a jeweler just before an update, which made jewellery crafting completely a waste of space. However, it's paid off now because I managed to amass sort of 94 of these refined black adamants. But I could see that's going to make me 19 of any of these new recipes, if I so wish to do so. But 16 light, it's debatable because of the other stats as well. But potentially, if I need to equip for a raid, that 14 light everywhere is not going to be enough, so I'm going to have to make some of these. So that gives me 19, but I've got several characters, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 6 slots each, 6 4 to 24. I haven't quite got enough yet. That's as long as I don't make swaps for any of them as well. But again, I suppose it's the same with these recipes here. Superior crafting recipes. No, I don't have the coin for them. But again, I know it. I've pulled my resources to buy the recipes. But again, doesn't mention multi-output. We've retained this. We've got the ring, band, earring, ear cuff, 1 necklace, bracelet, armlet. So again, we've got this confusion with extra recipes for the rings, earrings, and bracelets. We don't know the output, and you basically have to buy unless there's a wiki up somewhere, and I don't think, well, the wiki is just not quick enough to list them all. I haven't looked recently, maybe the wiki's up there and it's got all the details. But you're kind of buying blind with resources that are thin on the ground, often. Fortunately, you can buy them with different characters for that profession, and this is what I did. Because, as I say, this guy hasn't learned too many signets himself, so all the recipes have been bought by other characters for him. Just so that I can see what the outputs are. Because here you learn nothing. The other disappointment was the fact, when you do a crit, the crit is only marginally better. It's the only tier I can remember where critting something wasn't a big advantage. Before I go, cook. Okay, we have Dalesman crowns. Has always been, for me, a throwaway item because I've got 2 maxed out cooks. One of them's gilded, one isn't. That's the Dalesman crowns, and this is what we can make now. So this is our current food. 712 combat power regen. 931 combat power regen. Dalesman crowns seem to be better. This has always been a throwaway item. I must have thrown away hundreds because they don't have a value. So especially the bound to account ones, they just get thrown away. Morale regen 975 we can make in game now. 1274, that's better. Non-combat power 3300. 332. Well, that's the same. 6541. That's better for morale. So overall, for 5 minutes, that is a better regen. So what's this got to offer us? it lasts twice as long. It removes 1 wound poison effect with a maximum strength of 115. But that's just the same mistake as these pots here, which came out to be a max strength of 115. Pretty much useless to anyone in an instance facing bosses of higher level. Mind you, those bosses tend to do stabs and bleeds that you can't remove anyway. And how often do you use this? You've got to be out of combat with a wound or poison that's going to kill you. So it means this has got to be on a cooldown, or your pots are going to be on a cooldown for you to ever even think about using that. But the fight's over because you're out of combat, you're done. You don't get dread anymore when you die, so that's superfluous. But putting on there to pretend you're making it better, when frankly here you're not. So what did we have? We used to have 7-star stews to use. And these were made before Mordor went live. And we would expect to get an improvement as the tier goes up. We level up to a new cap. We would expect an improvement, especially with the stat inflation we've had with Mordor. But we don't. This is the best food we can make at the moment, roasted boar with aromatic vegetables. Why is this so much better and last longer? But that's not the whole story, because sadly now this is what 7-star stews come out looking like. So originally item level 201, its replacement, someone decided item level 110, and this recipe got nerfed to an item level 100. I just don't get it when other two foods, which I don't have on this character because they're in the vault or on other characters. Let's have a look at the recipe. Anyway, that'll tell us what we can do. We have item level 323, and all these are the same as well. Item level 323. Now, if this boar and vegetables was the same item level, then I think that could be a very good food. But was this a mistake? Was this a mistake? I'm thinking it must be a mistake, because there's no way that Hobbit present food is going to be the best regen we can make in game. I just think it's a bit bizarre. 201. Yeah, this is the previous resistance and buff food we've got, which on the face of it, this is still, you could arguably say this is better than just the one stat of 457. You could argue that that is better because it adds more to more skills, more stats. And whether or not dropping 3% on the individual resistances against an 8,000 nearly hike in resistance, which is better, I guess the mathematicians will have figured that one out. But you know, we've used to using a food that's lasted 30 minutes, and now we've got a non-crit, and these are the 2 crits tooltips. It's just making 2 rather than 1. And we had an incentive to use these things. pinch of rare Ithilian spices. If you're a crafted cook, you save these up for recipes that produce a better item than the crit. You don't waste them on things that just make more of. So largely these pinches of rare spices are a waste, especially when you've got masses and masses of mats dropping out of these loot boxes, sorry, these chests on the ground, because it's turned everyone into a gatherer of all resources. You know, it used to be the scholar had to go out and harvest scholar nodes. Now all my characters can be scholar gatherers and wood harvesters and ore harvesters, because they all just pick stuff out of chests on the landscape in Udun if they want to get some mats. So you kind of ruined all the gathering professions at Cap. But why this inconsistency? Why nerf this down to here? It just seems rather bizarre. So it's worth using, because that gives you this little tick between combat to get your health up. But why is it that low? Why isn't it better than this? And why does this get nerfed down? Why the item level changes? And why, oh why, are Delves and Crams better for a short fight than anything we can make? You can't make that anymore. Yeah, and here's that hitting that crystal again. But I think I'm done on that character. So we covered musical instruments. We've covered, to a certain extent, the 18-hour cooldown items and how your little tinker is at a disadvantage. Although, if you've got a range of characters like I have, each with different types of armour, I have 2 that use heavy armour, 2 that use agility armour, and 2 that use will armour of my sort of 6 main playable characters, and all but one of them at cap, and one of them's at 111. So he's my second will, but all of them need jewellery. So potentially there's six characters all needing at some points potentially the 16 light jewellery, and lots of holes to fill. Right, we'll quickly go on to my woodworker, my cat woodworker, and talk about the essence recipe. All the essence recipes, the tier 10 empowered shadow essence recipe, we got off this new barter guide, this last update, the point update. Require you to use that 18-hour cooldown item, whether it be a piece of leather or an ingot, except on the woodworker. Come on, machine, load. So I haven't bought the essence recipe on here, but why would you? I have it on my scholar's weaponsmith, I believe. But I do have it on the woodworker. And I might not have actually bought it, because I originally thought that it wasn't, I originally thought it was single use, so I bought 2 tailor recipes for the empowered shadow essence, and it was only when I realised it wasn't a single use that 2 of my tailors got that recipe. But both those recipes require the 18-hour cooldown item. So this character can just use solvent and Doomfold boards to make empowered shadow essence. Not on the metalsmith, not on the weaponsmith, not on the tailor. They all have to use that 18-hour cooldown item. So given enough basic wood, I don't have to, there's no wait, as long as I can purchase the universal solvents. And I say purchase. I can't possibly equip all my 5 capped characters with tier 10 essence unless I buy these on the auction house from someone who's spent all the farm's TP to buy the universal solvent to sell in the auction house to make money to give to the gold farmers to sell back to me. Is that how it works? But anyway, I spend TP buying these and I get 500 every month. Most of that usually goes on universal solvents because I don't have the knowledge of where to find them in enough quantities in game. But I've got a couple of weeks before I get up to 700 again. 420, so I can't buy another stack of 25, but I got a few in the bank. But there's still this anomaly where the woodworker gets to make this essence without the 18-hour cooldown time. Let's have these are all the crossbows I can make. Now, potentially, there's a crossbow recipe I didn't get, maybe? I don't know. But I can't make crossbows no more. Yeah, I used to have a crossbow. No. Maybe that's why I changed, because I couldn't make crossbows in Lotro. Yeah, this is another gripe. This is my character. What is the setting? Avatar update visible. No. I like my old face. That's what she looks like. She doesn't look like this. That's not her. This is her. Yeah, I'm confronted with this view of her in this screen. Why is that? This is a young girl's head plonked onto a woman's body. The trouble is, lots of people on the server who have found an image they like in the new visuals will see my character as this creature. I'm happy with the way she looks. I could potentially find a look that suits me, but why? Why am I forced to change my character's appearance? Were these done in isolation from the bodies? Is that listening to players too much? I don't know. Just think it's been a big waste of resources doing this. And then there'll come a time when we won't have the option of keeping our originals, and everyone will think we're paedophiles with this young child's head on this body. Annoying. Anyway, let's progress on. Crossbows is a minor thing. That we only got one bow recipe and limited outputs is annoying. But at least we've got something we can make to fill that bow slot on a guardian and a champ that can make weapons for that offhand on a champ and a hunter. My guardian has been a metalsmith since possibly summer 2007 when I created him. My champion was my first character, but our little group needed a tank, so I made my guardian, and he was a metalsmith. And he's made shields for 10 years, but no more. I can't understand why. Now, if there were lots of rewards to get shields in game, that'd be something. Let's equip the shield. So these are 2 quest shields, item level 311. One from Dharma, and one from Fushambal. I do have a max item level 313 pre-Mordor shield, effectively. But it's not the 27,000 armor that a proper shield would give you. That's in game but requires a gold signet. Metalsmithing. Why does Prospector have to be there? Why not metalsmithing or tailor at the top? Why does it have to be default? The only profession in the game which defaults to Prospector at the top there. Shield. Which is it? It's that one. These are all the shields you can make, except it stops after Anorian. How annoying that is. How can you possibly justify not including shields in a metalsmithing tier? How can that be? It's because you want us to open up boxes endlessly. Now, there is the option of bartering for a shield. And there has been an option of getting a level 110 shield off the landscape. Because I've seen it on several of my characters, all but the Guardian. It's the same with the Minstrel's landscape drop Scion shield. I've seen it on characters, but not my Minstrel. Now, unfortunately, my Minstrel did get one of these, the silver signets. So my Minstrel has one of these. I'm thinking it must be the outgoing healing one. But it would be nice to get a gold signet. But this is what I'd like on my tank. I'm embarrassed to go into a group with this yellow shield. But that's all I've got to go on. So this is my tanking shield because it's got more block on it. But it's quite frankly embarrassing for a guy who's been making shields for 10 years to be knocking around with this thing. But I have got silver signets out of a Gorafog loot box. So pretty much I'm stuck. Any keys I get, this character is opening the box all the time. Because I want a better shield. I don't want the embarrassment of this level 106 quest shield as my options for tanking. How is it that I can't even make a rubbish shield? No shield recipes at all. Why is that? Oh, I can make essence. I require more mats than my woodworker does there. I can make it here as well. Need some well-treated Doomfeld leather, unlike my woodworker. Holes. Now, I have no idea whether these are worse than they used to be or better than they used to be. Captain Armaments, the standards certainly haven't got that update. They're still showing the same values. Is there a bit of difference there? 11016. 11016. Yeah, that doesn't seem to work. Were we just forgotten the metalsmith? Oh, that's Taylor, obviously. Chisels. No, I haven't investigated chisels either. Doomfeld chisel. We're used to having a name change at least between the non-crit and the crit, and we're also used to having a colour change from a yellow to a purple, from a purple to a cyan or teal. Why no change? Now, same item level, same stats. I am reliably informed if I was to make this, it would be better. But unless you're on the forums and checking these things out, you wouldn't have a clue. In fact, you might just make it and never actually look, and just equip the new one, assuming it's going to be better. But I don't know. Is it better? Ringkeeper chisels. See there, we got a colour change. Exceptional Anorian chisel. Let's do a tooltip on it. Well, at least that's taken the stat inflation into account. Potentially, it would get better with a 325 or 326 item level. But certainly, you'd want as a caster class coming into Mordor with no crafted gear that had any finesse on it. You'd be wanting to keep this for your finesse levels. Yeah, maybe the tactical mastery rating would get you going. But why this oddity? You got 1200 max power, but only 800 odd max morale. Yeah, but the caveat is still that could be better once I've crafted it. Don't particularly want to craft it. I don't want to waste my resources. So there's one good thing is my shield spikes are better. My bow charts on my hunter arch. There, the previous tiers had a reduced item level, so they're worse. The previous tier bow charts made before the Mordor X pack, I still retain their high values of minus 4,000, as opposed to the current one, which is minus 2,200, and the nerf to that Anorian tier down to minus 1,900, is it? So why nerf, and why not nerf the items already made? Is it somehow to placate the moans and complaints, or was it just not seen that it was a huge nerf? Maybe the nerf was required, so we could have had a dev diary pointing these things out. Some explanation of why these decisions were made, or was it just incompetence? And the trouble is, we think it's incompetence when there could be valid reasons for why all the anomalies, but we just don't know. So I'm holding back my food. I'm not eating this food unless I'm in a tough raid somewhere. So I'm going to be using this rubbish in the meantime and keeping hold of my old food because you can't make this anymore. Yeah, I'm happy with the new resistance and stat because they're high enough item levels. 201, great. But the 110 item level 7-star stews you can make now are worse than this stuff. So where are my shields? Where are my crossbows? What's my food been nerfed? Why aren't these recipes? Why doesn't it mention multi-output? Why can't we see the outputs when we've got a ring and a band? This has never been done like this before, has it? It's always just had one ring recipe and any number of outputs. It does make it easier for a jeweler to equip several characters, but these aren't cooldown recipes. These aren't one-off recipes. If you want to have 8 outputs, you can. There's no cooldown on it. Where are my shield recipes? Where are my quest shields? How come there's no quest shield after 106? Is there a quest shield that I'm missing? Tell me where I can do a quest for a shield that's half decent, that I'm not embarrassed to walk around with. Please. Alright, that's it for now. I'll probably go into more detail another time.